Well, good evening, everyone. This is the joint meeting of the Planning and Land Use for Northwest, Central, and Coastal San Pedro. We welcome you, and we'll do some quick introductions since there's not a lot of us here.
Adele Healy, Coastal Neighborhood Council Land Use Committee.
Elise Swanson, Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Council Land Use.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Augie Bezmolinovich, Community Affairs Advocate for Los Angeles.
Harley Baker, Senior Communications and Stakeholder Engagement Director at Port of LA.
Jason Herring, Vice Chair, Northwest Planning and Land Use Committee.
Janet McLeod, League of Women Voters.
Thomas Norman, Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council, Co-Chair of the Port Environment and Sustainability Committee.
Pat Nave, Committee Member, Northwest.
Diana Nave, Chair, Northwest Planning and Land Use Committee.
Javier Gonzalez Camarilla, I'm the Chair of Central Planning and Land Use Committee, and then we have a couple of people in the back.
Oh, shall I introduce yourself?
James Campbell, Coastal.
Well, thank you and welcome, everyone. We're going to start with the first item on the agenda, and it's an update on the 47 Freeway Harbor Boulevard off-ramp reconfiguration. We have Augie
Bezmolinovich.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone, once again. So the 47 Freeway is a fancy way of saying the Vincent Thomas Bridge and Harbor Boulevard. So we're going to be reconfiguring those on and off ramps here shortly. And I'm going to introduce to you Sarah Aziz, who is a civil engineer at the Port of Los Angeles. She's also the project manager, and she's a little under the weather. So I think she's going to be able to do the presentation without showing herself, though. But that's okay. Yeah. So Sarah, can you hear us? And you could take it over whenever you want.
Thanks, Augie. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Wonderful. And yeah, again, I apologize for having my camera off tonight, but thank you so much for inviting me to present on this project today. It's great to be back. For those of you who don't know, as Augie mentioned, Sarah Aziz, and I am the project manager with the Ports Engineering Division. So tonight, I just want to give you guys a brief project scope and benefits overview, and then I'd like to just discuss some of the construction phasing that we can anticipate as part of this upcoming construction project. So here is an aerial site map. Let me just get my laser pointer of the project location with respect to the port complex. So just really, 50,000 bird's eye view. We have the interchange here at Harbor Boulevard. So this is the SR 47 that goes across to Long Beach in this area. And then we have San Pedro over here to the south. And just to this is a zoom in of the project location. I just want to get everyone's bearings straight before I kind of get started. We have the Little League, Eastview Little League baseball fields up here at Knoll Hill Park. We have Front Street along the north end, turns into Harbor Boulevard here. The West Basin Container Terminal over here to the top right. Samoan Sea Apartments right here in the center. And so just running through the middle of the screen here, we have the Vincent Thomas Bridge. And you can see right where my pointer is, this is the 110 freeway on-ramp. So hopefully everyone's kind of familiar with the area. But essentially, what's highlighted in blue are the proposed improvements to both the Caltrans system, as well as the local roadways, Front Street and Harbor Boulevard. Just to kind of touch on some high-level improvements, as I'm sure those who are familiar with this interchange know, we have a lot of sight distance issues as you're coming off from Long Beach at the Harbor Boulevard exit to San Pedro. So just as you're coming off that off ramp, kind of hard to see if vehicles are backed up here. It's a quick merge as you're coming off the freeway with truck traffic coming off the 110 freeway. And so this project is essentially proposing to flip that ramp from the south side of the bridge to the north side. So we'll now have a new off-ramp coming from Long Beach that'll exit on Front Street. And it's a little hard to see, but we have a dual right turn. So we'll have two right turns coming off for commercial and waterfront traffic. And then we actually will be introducing a direct exit into the West Basin Container Terminal. So we'll be essentially separating that truck and vehicular traffic just to add some more safety and eliminate traffic congestion in the area. So that's kind of the main improvement. Along with that, we'll be shifting the existing 110 on-ramp. So today you would be heading north on Front Street, making that left turn to get onto the 110 freeway towards LA. That now gets shifted north as well. So it'll all be at one new larger intersection over here at Front and Knoll. And so as you can imagine, that does impact the existing Knoll Drive that we have that takes us up to the baseball fields. So that actually gets reversed in direction and relocated. So today we would enter on from Front Street in this direction as a one-way and exit out here across from the terminal. So this actually, the new entrance would be on Front Street with its own designated turn pocket, still remains one way, but just exits out onto Front Street from here. And then on the south side of the main line, we are adding an additional auxiliary lane coming off of the Gaffey and the southbound 110 exit. So when you're coming from LA, exiting off to Harbor Boulevard, this exit gets widened and we have an additional, so it's a 2-lane exit ramp now. And then we will also be pushing back the existing on-ramp to SR 47. So when you're headed from San Pedro to Long Beach and you make that left turn onto the Vincent Thomas Bridge, as again, I'm sure many are familiar, it's a pretty dangerous merge as you're getting onto the bridge itself. So with this project, we're proposing to push that on-ramp further back, which will essentially double the distance that drivers have to get onto the main line. So just kind of improving safety there. And then those are kind of the safety and operational improvements. We do have some widenings happening on Front Street to accommodate the new intersection and turn ramps. And then basically a full makeover on Front Street with ADA ramps, curb returns, ADA compliant curb returns and crosswalks, signal improvements, street lighting, and street overlay. And so this next slide kind of shows a little 3D version of what I just discussed. So again, in yellow here, we have, or excuse me, I'll go ahead and start with green here. We have that new off-ramp. So instead of coming off the SR 47 and going underneath the bridge to exit on Harbor, we would now be exiting here in the green color off onto Front Street. And then essentially shifting the existing 110 on-ramp a little bit north over here in orange. The blue represents the realigned Knoll Drive, and then the yellow represents the new on-ramp to Long Beach when you're headed from San Pedro. So it's kind of shifted back there. Just some other improvements that we have. We'll also be constructing this project in conjunction with the Front Street West improvements. So let me just take it back a slide. Just in this location, for those who are familiar, it's a beautification project in conjunction with the current project in construction, the Front Street Beautification Project. We also have a small sliver of improvements happening here on the southeast corner of Pacific and Front. And so that project will also be constructed along with this one. Here's just some aesthetic and landscaping treatment highlights that I wanted to mention. Here on the left, we're just showing on the Caltrans system, the proposed landscape at the interchange as part of this project. On the top right, we actually have a proposed aesthetic treatment for retaining walls located off Harbor Boulevard. A huge thank you to the neighborhood councils for your support over the last couple of years in getting this approved through Caltrans District 7. And we will be seeing this this lovely aesthetic treatment over here on the south side of the new Harbor Boulevard off-ramp. So it'll essentially be on this entire stretch down here as kind of the gateway entrance into the port. So really looking forward to that. And then the bottom right kind of represents the plant palette that we're proposing for all of the landscape improvements on this project. This matches in with the plant palette that we're currently using on the Front Street Beautification Project. So it'll kind of provide this seamless transition once that project is completed. That project is anticipated to be completed sometime in March of this year. And it includes that multi-use pathway, ped lighting and landscape. And then the port will be responsible to maintain that landscape for 3 years post-construction. So for plant establishment. And so now I just want to kind of get into construction phasing. I'm going to talk kind of high level, just going over the 5 or 6 different stages of construction that we have. I do want to emphasize the port understands the community's concerns in regards to traffic detours. We definitely plan to notify all truckers, ILWU members, community members, et cetera, prior to implementation of every single phase. We will have a dedicated PR and community outreach team during construction as well. And we'll give plenty of signage and notification to the community prior to any traffic pattern changes. I also want to just highlight that Skanska, the contractor that's been awarded this project, will receive their notice to proceed in March. So at that time, we will have a more concrete construction schedule with more accurate dates and durations for each stage. So the timeline I'm presenting on today is based on our engineer's estimate that was part of design. It shouldn't differ too much, but again, once we have that construction schedule, we can give you guys some actuals in terms of timeline. So stage 0, we anticipate this will start in spring of 2024. So just in the next couple of months here. As you can see, there's no improvements happening to the freeway system. We do anticipate a weekend closure or 2 over here at Front and Pacific. There's some old rail lines that run across Pacific and Front that we'll be removing. That's going to happen over a weekend or 2. We plan to detour traffic around Knoll, back onto Front, Harbor, and then up first over to Pacific Avenue. For trucks, we will notify them to utilize the 110 southbound exiting off of the John S. Gibson terminal access. As part of our stage 1, this is going to occur summer of this year through early winter of 2025. Closures to the local roadway Front Street. So essentially what's shown in red, we will have construction happening on the outside lanes while maintaining 1 lane in each direction for through movements of traffic. And then we will switch. So the closure will be on the inside lanes while the outside lanes are available for traffic. We do anticipate some nighttime closures. We don't have those dates not locked down yet, but we'll definitely keep everybody informed. And then we do anticipate a closure to a portion of Knoll Drive. And so essentially we will still maintain access at all times to Knoll Hill. However, we will just be converting Knoll Drive into a 2-way traffic operation with flaggers for safety reasons. And so no closures to the freeway system during this stage. And then just moving on to stage 2A. So at this point, all of the improvements north of the Vincent Thomas Bridge on Front Street are complete. So again, that kind of includes our curb and gutter, our street overlay, our signals, street lighting, etc. So we'll see a similar traffic pattern south of the Vincent Thomas Bridge. So closure of the outside lanes while we do construction, and we'll maintain 1 lane in each direction for the inside lanes, and then we'll be switching. And the same thing is happening on Swinford Street. And then we do introduce our first ramp closure, you could say. So coming off of the Gaffey Street exit to Harbor Boulevard, we will be detouring vehicles up Gaffey Street to Channel Street. No other freeway closures are anticipated during this stage. And then stage 2B, which will begin in fall of 2025. At this point, all of the improvements on the local roadway are complete. And so Front Street Harbor Boulevard fully functioning with all improvements done. And this is where we will see a closure to the 110 northbound on-ramp from Harbor Boulevard and Front Street. We'll be detouring vehicles up Front Street to John S. Gibson. And this is expected to be about a month or 2 closure. And then we also anticipate a closure to the mainline SR 47 coming off of Harbor Boulevard. So that exit to come from Long Beach to San Pedro from the Vincent Thomas Bridge. And that'll be closed for about a month or 2 as well. The same month or 2 for both closures. This is essentially when we'll be constructing the connection between the new on and off ramp system and the main line. And then over here, we will also see that same closure for Gaffey Street to the Harbor Boulevard exit. So we'll be rerouting vehicles to the Gaffey exit over by Channel. There's no other closures to the freeway system at this time. And now in stage 3A, the new on and off ramp is fully constructed, so no more closures happening north of the main line. So now if you're coming from Long Beach, you've got that brand new ramp to come off of on Front Street, headed down into the waterfront areas, et cetera, as well as the new 110 on ramp as well. So on the south side, the Gaffey Street on ramp to the SR 47 is now open. However, the Harbor Boulevard exit will be closed. So if you're coming from LA or from Gaffey Street, you will not be able to exit off onto Harbor Boulevard. We will be detouring vehicles from Gaffey onto Channel and Pacific, as well as from the 110 freeway. And we also will reduce one lane for the northbound on-ramp. So right here, as you're coming from San Pedro to Long Beach, this gets reduced down to just a one lane on-ramp, still a viable route during this stage. And I don't think I mentioned yet, but this stage will occur from during winter of 2026 to spring of 2026. So late 25 to 26. And then in the summer of 2026, our last stage 3B, we are anticipating a closure of the Harbor Boulevard on-ramp. So from San Pedro to Long Beach, again, detouring vehicles to Channel and Gaffey Street, and no other closures to the freeway system. This should be just a couple of months for this closure as well. So just to kind of give some other project facts, this project's in conjunction with Caltrans, as well as several City of LA departments. We do have approximately 73 million in total project grant funds, all the way from the regional to federal levels. And this project was advertised July 13th. Construction is scheduled to begin March 4th. And really will break ground a little bit shortly after that. This is when our construction NTP is issued. And then we have about a 3-year construction duration. So we have conducted community outreach throughout the planning, environmental, and design phases, and we have every intention to continue to do so and ramp it up during construction as well. We're committed to providing as much transparency and communication for the upcoming closures, as we know this impacts the local communities. We do have our partnering session with our contractor on February 21st, at which time we'll determine a groundbreaking date and go ahead and notify the community as well. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thanks, Sarah. Any questions for Sarah?
Thank you.
So it might be running tandemly with the bridge closure. Would that have any effect on this at all?
No, they won't be doing the deck. The deck replacement is going to be, won't be happening at the same time, right, Sarah?
We based on Caltrans's current schedule, we do anticipate some overlap. It will likely be towards the end of 2025 into 26. So, in a way, it's a good thing, because if we're already experiencing closures as part of that project, it will tie in with the closures as part of this one. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Good presentation.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Exciting to have the improvements underway after all this years of discussion.
And I do want to make sure I caught it correctly, that you're doing the one side of Front Street now, and you're gonna beautify the other side as a part of this.
Yes, the other side, and then over there by Harbor Ock, that area, that little lot over there by Harbor Occupation Center.
The lot that's across from what's being
Across
done
from
now.
what's being done now, yeah.
They said that belonged to the fort, and I was surprised.
Some of it, it's a little bit of there's actually a street there too, that's not going through, like it's on paper, yeah. So, but we got permission to go ahead and reduce some of that lot there.
Okay,
Excellent.
Yeah, great job. She's one of our
thank you.
all-star
Yeah.
Thank you.
engineers.
We can view these plans online, Augie.
I can get them for you.
Can
Yeah,
you
if we
send it
could-
to me so I
sure.
can post it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
See if you can look at it as well. And
If anyone that's listening online has a question, you can use the raised hand function to ask it. See, we have several people on. Do we have any students online? If so, let us know.
Don't see any further questions.
Calvin here? Oh, you're gonna move him.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he's gonna be here at the end.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the information and presentation. And yeah, if you could have that available, that would be great.
Great, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen. Very good. So we're gonna move then item 3 to the end.
Yes,
Diana?
yes.
Okay, very good. Sergio. In.
See, Sergio, let's go to,
Sergio is dialing in remotely. Just give him like 2 minutes.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
is you gonna be here in 2
He's
minutes?
dialing in remotely.
Yeah.
No, he's dialing in remotely.
Mhm.
Okay, very good.
Unless we could go to Pam.
We'll put the elevator music. Pamela, would you like to proceed since he's still? getting-
Sure. I emailed you my report a few minutes ago. I don't know if you want to pull it up, but.
Okay, now you wanna maybe do that so I don't disturb the broadcast?
If I could figure out how to do that, if I can remember how to do that.
That's me. Yes, you do.
We need multiple screens.
It's a lot.
Go ahead and start and I'll try to get it up, Pamela.
Okay, it's no problem. You could just keep it for the record. I know you record that stuff, so.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we'll start out with the hot topic, the Machista Bar on Pacific. So we've all heard and seen the news regarding the unfortunate fatality that occurred there over the weekend. So the councilman and I had already been in communication with city departments, and LAPD to initiate the process to revocate the permit for that. Just a little brief history, the Machista Bar doesn't have a CUB or a CUP because the operation predates the status of when they require to have a conditional use permit through the planning department. But we were talking about, based on the previous shootings and other criminal activity at that location, it justified a public nuisance. So under that, we were moving forward to have some regulatory control to do what we could to either stop them from selling the alcohol and or close the actual bar. So with the fatality, it's still giving us more muscle to be able to move forward with that. So we'll be working with city departments as well as alcohol beverage and control, because they do have some licensing on the state level, to make sure that there is the highest enforcement that is extended to that site. Are there any questions about that?
So Pamela, this is Elise Swanson. So are they allowed to be open now and operational in light of the shooting and the investigation? Because I understand they're open today, so they're proceeding as normal until this process takes place?
Unfortunately, under my purview for planning, we don't have any ability to shut them down. Under the police power, PD could, but I think that that's all being discussed as we speak.
Okay, thank
And
you.
there is a meeting that I will be attending at the Harbor Department next Monday, and all of this will be discussed.
Thank you.
And so I'm hoping they'll have increased enforcement or at least a presence there over the weekend, because I'm concerned that there could be some additional activity, because to date, I haven't heard that they've apprehended the alleged shooter yet. So have you heard differently? Have you heard that there has been an arrest? Because I've been at City Hall all day. I haven't been able to check
No.
the news.
Not as of media reports as of 5:30. There was nothing on media that they had made an arrest.
Right. So all of that is so unfortunate. And so I'm hoping we could at least, close it or do some kind of regulatory control at the site.
Yeah, that's great to
Very
hear,
sad.
Pamela.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so are there any other questions regarding that location?
No, I guess we'll just wait for updates, but I mean, it sounds like it's going in the right direction. The reoccurring incidents there seem to be a big issue.
Okay. So the next one, going by the status updates that I was requested to report out on. Okay, so the Topaz Building, 222 West Sixth Street. So there is a proposal to convert one of the floors within the building into like apartment luxury style condos. The developer is Urban Stearns. The project team is not yet ready with their project presentation, but I anticipate they will reach out to you for a presentation in the coming months.
So only one,
No permits have been pulled. It's just all proposed in a design phase.
and you're saying only one floor is proposed to be converted?
One floor from what I saw, because I actually went on a walkthrough with the councilman, but they didn't give me any plan. So at the time, it was only one floor and then discussion of the rooftop as a recreational space. But that's all, just a proposed project. Nothing concrete yet.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions regarding that? Okay, the next one is 111 North Harbor Boulevard. This is a project for a 5-story apartment building with subterranean parking. The project status right now is pending. I will be meeting on Friday to discuss the project status. There aren't any updates or movement with it, so I reached out and we're supposed to be having a conversation. So any updates, I'll be able to report out at a later time. Are there any questions regarding that one?
Yeah, is this the same original applicant that started that project?
It is, yes.
Okay,
I don't think so.
because they did have these
Larry
signs.
Kruger.
That's who presented to the chamber was Larry Kruger, about a year ago.
Right.
But I don't think he was the original applicant.
No,
he wasn't.
Purchased it.
It was from, gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he purchased it.
And I-
So we've never
Yeah.
seen a presentation from him, and it would be great, Pamela, if you could have him meet with us.
We had 2 from the prior
Okay.
presentations.
Yeah, that would be great, because we did see a presentation early on the previous applicant,
too.
but I wonder if they changed the concept.
Again.
I can't remember. It's been a year, at least. Larry is out of San Diego, so,
Yeah, it would be good to read this,
Yeah.
especially if they've made any changes.
mhm.
Okay.
Maybe we can get that information from either you, Elise, or Pamela.
Mhm.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pamela.
Sure. The next one is the San Pedro Courthouse redevelopment. So the current project right now, it is still pending, but according to Bill Cockrum, things as far as the planning review side of things are moving forward. He also, with his project team, are working with the County of Los Angeles. There's some work on that side that is being worked on dealing with the linkage fee on the affordable housing side of things. So he says then during the interim, he's also finalizing and securing the financing for the project. So with the project delays overall, the construction timeline has been extended. And it is expected to begin as far as the construction, once they pull permits sometime later in the year, maybe like late summer. August 2024.
Yeah, I thought they had their financing, that's a,
Well, it
part
could
of
have
it.
dried up. It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the
with the market, the market
The cost
right
have gone up.
now, he needed to, make sure he was secure. So, but he feels that he's in a good place, so he thinks everything's working out in their favor.
With the construction, you mean also the excavation, to start at that point?
Well, actually, just starting out, they feel they should be able to have pull permits by then,
Okay.
because right now they don't have any permits. Any other
Like, is it-
questions regarding that one?
No,
Okay, the next one, 1602 West 25th Street. So this is the removal of the existing 8,000 square foot building, commonly known as the old Bank of America building. And then the proposed construction of a 2,200 square foot building for a proposed Starbucks with a drive-through. The public hearing is gonna be scheduled soon. We anticipate it will be scheduled for hearing around the February, March timeframe. The date hasn't been officially scheduled, but according to planning, they anticipate it will be coming up shortly for scheduling. Any questions regarding that?
you said it's a 22,000 square foot building,
2,200.
2,200, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
I don't think so. You could. go
Okay,
to the next.
so the next one is the Defense Fuel Support Point, DFSP. So this is Sergio's project. So the feedback that I received is that there was a new RFP that closed in April of 2021. And the Navy then selected an offer for commercial use of the Marine terminal for a period of exclusive negotiation on a leasing agreement, or I'm sorry, arrangement. And then more information will be provided at the completion of the solicitation process. So is Sergio on?
No,
I don't see him.
What happened? He just called me. So that's his project, but this is the feedback that he gave me. So we don't have any additional information right now. And it may be a further delay because I think it may have been some hiccup with the solicitation. And they might have to go back out to bid again. So this is gonna be a little delay for this one.
Maybe you can update us.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see him.
Texting, let's see where it is.
Okay. So the
Yes.
next one, I don't have any updates, so I have 4. So Oddfellows, we don't have any feedback update, no communication with anybody. Crown Plaza, the rumor about housing being proposed, we haven't confirmed that. We haven't been in communication with anyone. So there's no movement on that to be an actual change of use or an actual sale. 847 10th Street, we have no record or information that any permits have been pulled for anything at that site, nor at 13th and Pacific.
So Pamela, 13th and Pacific, is that Martin Cully 1309? Is that what you're referring to? So, I mean, they've demoed the back. And we were told today that the dancing waters, the facade, the front's supposed to come down this week. So there should be demo permits at least.
I see. What's the address that you have it under 1309?
Under 1309 Pacific.
Yeah, and I just said 13th and Pacific when I wrote to her.
Okay, so let me search that specific address because.
Yes. Is it West Pacific? Is it 1309
South.
South Pacific? Yes, we're west, South Pacific.
So Martin's other property is now a pop-up, quite large Mexican food.
Okay. Well, 1309, they're demoing. Pamela, they removed all the asbestos and hazardous materials, and the back is off half of the block.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Okay. They had to do
I'll have
something.
to follow up with you on that one.
Okay, yeah, he said he had to lay down padding to protect the sidewalk and the street trees from the demo of the front. So he's working on that.
Mike is on, so we
I
can.
will, come on. We will join us.
Yeah, I'll go back to my demo notices. I get notices of demolition. But with the notice of demolition, it doesn't necessarily tell me what the next phase is.
Okay.
Okay, but I'll check that. And that's all I had out under my report.
Great, thank you, Pamela.
Okay.
I still don't see Sergio.
Okay, Sergio,
We have Mike, right? Was Mike there?
Yes.
I'll call him and see what's happening, see if he's having troubles or something. But he has the link.
Oh,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you, Pamela. Thank you. Mike Calvin, if you can hear us, I'm gonna promote you to panelist so you could join the conversation.
Might not actually be there. Even though it shows him there.
Decline to be promoted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe next month.
Very good. Should we follow on the, he's raising his hand.
Camera. Oh, we'll come down this way.
Mike, I see you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Mayor? Sure.
Okay, I'm not ready to present yet, so I've been in touch with Diana. I'll be about 7:15, but I'm driving right now.
Okay, no problem.
No problem.
We'll proceed with the next item.
Yes, later on.
So we're gonna move up to item 6 on the agenda. And that's the possible letter for repairs on the library.
Right.
Oh, wait a second, I think Pam has her hand up.
Pam, do you have your hand up, Pamela?
Yes, I just wanted to let you know that Sergio had problems logging in, so I don't think he'll be joining. He's wherever he is, I don't think he has good connection.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Tell him he can join later.
okay,
He gets a better connection.
okay.
We'll
Very
just
good.
put him on when he
Thanks, Pamela.
joins.
All right, Elise.
So I'm going to talk about repairs to the San Pedro Regional Library, but Drew Leach, CD 15, is with us on the call. And I know Drew had some follow-up as well, but I submitted a draft letter to you all for review. The chamber is sending a letter to the city librarian, John Zabo, there's money in the LA City budget for repairs to the San Pedro Library. So we're asking the city librarian for, to expedite repairs to the library. The The building needs general maintenance, including exterior paint, interior ceiling repair, parking lot maintenance, repainting of red curbs. And in speaking with Councilmember McCosker about the conditions at the library, he asked that community assist the office in sending letters to the city librarian requesting that they move forward with the repairs to the library since it's already January of 2024. We heard from Drew today that the library will be getting a new roof. Because if you've been in there lately, there's plastic sheeting due to leakage, water leakage from the roof and windows. And then Drew mentioned they're also getting some new fiber optic cabling. But Drew, were you able to find out we've asked for the amount of money that is actually in the budget for the library?
I actually have not been able to find out. I reached out to our legislative analyst who is working on it, but I still have not received an update from her.
Okay, thank you, Drew.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Did you have anything more to add on library?
No, I think you pretty much covered it.
Okay, and I did, just so you all know, I did reach out through email to our city librarian, telling him we were concerned about conditions at the library and have not heard back, but we did ask him if he would be interested or willing to Zoom with us to discuss the scheduled improvements and any other funds. I know Mona and her team, volunteer team, have been actively addressing situations at the library. And we don't want Mona to have to paint the library, I told her. Just hold on until we get, feedback from this letter. But so what we're asking is if our neighborhood councils would join us and send a version of this draft that I sent to everyone and send your own letters to the city librarian at the request of our council member, because we were originally just going to send it to CD 15, but he asked that we send it to the librarian as well.
I would entertain a motion for Northwest. Pat?
Second.
I'm on roll call here.
Diana, or who's chairing? Oh, you're? Yeah, I would also send that letter to the library commission,
Oh, thank you, Doug. I didn't see you down there. Thank you. So to the,
not just to the head librarian.
okay, so to the library commission?
Correct.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you.
Because we can also file a community impact statement with the library commission.
We can? Oh,
Yes, we can.
excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Doug. I will follow up with you on this.
It's assuming coastal passes it.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I got excited there for a moment. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm not speaking for my council, but
So,
yeah, everybody always forgets about commissions, but that is a way to file a yes.
that's a good point.
Good point, Doug. So for Northwest, it's been moved and seconded that we support the letter. Any discussion? We ready to vote?
Yep, and no changes. The flip.
Jason,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, so it's unanimous. Passed by Northwest.
And Doug, I would like to move for coastal San Pedro land use that we support sending a letter.
Do we have a quorum here?
We do. We have Mona, we have Adele, we have.
Okay,
Elise,
all right.
and we have
You got three. Yeah, go for it.
Ziggy is on the screen. So
And
I
I'll second the motion, Louise.
thank you. So it's been moved and seconded by coastal San Pedro land use to support a letter to the city librarian, Councilmember McCosker and the library commission. Oh, yes, so I moved it and Mona seconded it. Do we have any opposition or abstentions to the motion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Ziggy?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ziggy. Carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for Central, we're going to have to take it up on a regular meeting because I don't have a forum.
Okay.
But it's interesting, I didn't know about the letter, but we've been talking to the librarian there, because that's where we have our meetings.
Mhm.
And I've been talking to them for months, to see what the priorities are, because definitely that needs help.
Right.
And so maybe as part of this, I will have a meeting with him.
That would be great.
And we could prioritize the things that they feel are most important, but definitely what you've been talking about, it's a great start.
Yeah.
I wish we could go a step further and kind of improve even the space, make it, I mean, it feels very
Dark and
dark,
inviting.
and those gates and everything, it's just not very inviting, and the lighting around it, you know.
It
Right.
really does. It needs a complete
So
facelift.
we talked about it at Quality of Life Committee today. It really does. It's not an inviting space, and that's why we're hoping to see how much money's in the budget. I know roofs can be incredibly expensive, but
Yeah.
really we do need a whole renovation to that library.
Yeah.
And I think maybe seeing what report we get back from the city librarian, then maybe we can move forward with the 1.5 and see if we can ask for additional funding in the next budget for a full renovation.
Yeah.
So we'll see what.
Yeah, so we'll probably talk to the manager there at the library, and then we'll definitely support the letter on our next meeting, which is early in
that.
February.
Thank you very
No.
much. Mona, any comments? Because I know you've worked on that long and hard and.
Well, I want to say thank you for the support, everybody. I think, I'll say that it's a no-brainer. We deserve the best and the brightest in San Pedro. And it's more than high time that we all stand up and advocate. So thank you also for having my personal back on this, because I'll tell you, I've spent myself and some of my volunteers have spent an awful lot of time with cleanups. They are trying to help, but number one, what we've been doing is I've been really pushing Harbor Division and our new senior lead officer. The priority all year long is to stay on the crime, the drug dealing, and folks sleeping on and around and making some big messes. So it's still a work in progress. It's a lot better, but a lot of people don't want to use our library because they do not feel safe.
Well, thank you for all that you do there, but I've seen it, I know, done a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And we need to take our library back, just my 2 cents. You know, we did hear from people today that they don't use the library. They go to the library up in Palos Verdes, and it breaks my heart. I'm there every week.
Very effective.
And we need to take our library back and demand, I mean, it's an incredible library system that we have in Los Angeles, and we need to take our library
And
back.
it's really the on the main business corridor
Yep.
at 9th Street in Commerce. It's a very distinctive building.
Mhm.
It could be a whole lot better. I have actually been planning on painting the entire building on the exterior.
I know.
Well, and I actually want to do it because I have to paint, but
I
that's
know.
another story.
Yes. Move on. Yeah, I'm sorry. He has her hand up. I'm sorry, we could talk about this.
Siggy,
Yes, we could.
did you have
Oh.
a comment?
Yes, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to add if, the kitchen is atrocious at the library. We, Javier, we had a couple of meetings in the kitchen and I
Yeah.
don't believe there was air conditioning or something. I just remember being really hot and it was really filthy. And, the furniture, just everything was just gross. So yeah, the kitchen really needs an update as well.
Okay, we'll add that. Thank you, Ziggy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, could I just say very quickly, my daughter just applied for a transfer to the Pedro Library, and is it too late for me to tell her to forget it?
No. Love to have her at the San Pedro Library. Thank you.
Yeah, she
The best in the bright.
she applied to be the children's librarian.
Excellent.
But we'll see if she gets it. I don't know.
Okay, well,
Okay.
fingers crossed.
Excellent, so
We'll
that's
keep
great.
everybody updated on that.
So Robin is not here, so we'll skip item 7. And we'll move on to item 8, which is the Jedi Zone update.
So very briefly, thank you for everyone for your support on the Jedi Zone, and it's the Jobs and Economic Development Incentive Zone that we've been working on for Pacific Avenue. The Department of EWDD did their work. They have said that it does qualify as a Jedi Zone. The boundaries that we submitted for phase 1, 1st to 14th Street, have been accepted by the department, which is super exciting. And it is going in February to Trade Travel and Tourism Committee. And we'll be letting you all know, because we'd love to have support at committee testifying on how important this zone is for Pacific Avenue, because it comes with facade improvement grants, which will be super exciting to help uplift Pacific Avenue.
And if we could get a council file number, we could actually take the letter that we put into the community impact statement.
You know what, Diana, I will get that out to everyone. Let me see, I don't have it on this city. Would this be the, actually, is that it?
Yep, that's
Okay. All right, so thank you, that is my report.
Very good. Well, since we're on the items that you're covering,
As
we'll
we-
move on to the next one.
Just-
Update on the Croatia conference.
Super exciting news. We're making progress on the chamber's lease negotiations to take over management of the building formerly known as the Croatian Cultural Center. I heard back from the CAO's office. They have a few more questions regarding our proposal. And then once we answer these remaining questions, it will move on to committee for approval. So we're super excited. We are in negotiations on a community benefit lease, which means that our services to the community must exceed the dollar amount that general services could achieve on the open market for commercial property of that size. We have exceeded that. The building will hold the chamber, the business source center, the work source center, San Pedro Waterfront Arts District operations, and the San Pedro Heritage Museum. So it's super exciting. It will become a community hub. And once we have negotiated the lease, which will take time, then the chamber will embark upon about a $300,000 to $400,000 renovation of the building. We're very fortunate. We have a small business administration loan that we'll be using. But as you all know, the building has had significant vandalism and damage. But you know, it's moving forward. So it's all good news. And then it'll dovetail beautifully into the Jedi Zone as the chamber moves up to Pacific to help jumpstart the work on Pacific Avenue. So super exciting. More to follow.
Great news.
Yes, we're very excited.
Yeah, that'll be great to see that building.
Yeah, to come back to
Again.
life. Yeah.
All right, Diana, item number 10.
Yeah. I've got several updates. The first one is that as a part of the new zoning code, the process and procedures ordinance part of that is now in place. And what that means to us, the biggest things that we're going to notice is that there's a lot of terminology that we are used to that has changed. For example, there will no longer be a ZA hearing, a CUP, etc. These have new nomenclatures, which also mean that the numbers that we get, that, you know, it's a case such and such, that the suffixes will change to reflect the new names. They've also done some standardization. All of public hearing notification will now be 24 days and appeals have to be filed within 15 days. And so those are the main changes. The big thing is going to be the nomenclature that we're going to have to learn. Rancho San Pedro, do you want to talk about that? Or you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, I could just give you a brief description of what we saw. It was a design presentation for the first part of the project, which is, what is it, 327?
327 North Harbor.
And so that's the first phase of the project, which is going to relocate some of the current tenants of Rancho San Pedro and to this new building, which has, as I understand, 47 units. And they showed us the design of the building, how it's laid out, the mix of 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. Generally, I think it's a good design. You know, it's simple, works, and there wasn't too many questions that we had about it. I mean, we did ask to do a few things, particularly to me, it seemed like the entry to the building was kind of like not really inviting. And so I think it wasn't part of, you know, the street scene. So we asked that they kind of address that a little better. And we also had a question as to what was going to go on the ground floor, because typically those buildings will have a commercial component. In this case, they're not doing the commercial component, but they're doing community uses that are going to be part of the project. So some of those areas are like community spaces, and so there will be activity at the street. Other than that, I don't know if we had a copy of the presentation, Diana.
I don't have a copy of the presentation. One of the things that's interesting about the building itself is it has a rounded edge, so which was kind of nice. And it also had from like the first floor to the second, there's a little ledge area that's got a lot of greenery in it. So they've done a few touches that I thought were pretty nice. They expected it was a by right project, so we, didn't go before an ZA hearing or anything. They expect to break ground by June.
Oh, nice.
June, exciting. It'll take
Very
2 years
exciting.
to build.
2 years, wow.
Which is the same as the timeline to prepare for the demolition of the first units. So they're starting now on the pre-work to demolish the first units in about June of 2026, and then this should be available so the tenant will move into that, because there'll be 47 tenants still have to move. They will tear down where they're living, and they'll tear down some other things, and they're gonna build 150 units. So then these 47 can stay, or they can move back, but then they've got room to move people to go on to the next phase. The West Harbor, the fish market is going to be moving. And they're gonna move up closer to the Maritime Museum. But between the Maritime Museum and where Fish Harbor is moving to, they're going to be developing soon that they call the North Park area, which will be more of a recreational area. UCLA is planning to begin some programs in the 24-25 school year. They're still in the early planning stages. They're looking at the themes of sustainability, climate change, environmental justice, with some sub-themes of workers' rights, indigenous rights, marine biology, and supply chain. They can instruct up to 1,000 students, but can only house somewhere between 200 and 400 at the PB Drive site. So when they get a little further along, we'll invite them to give a presentation on their plans, but they're still kind of in the real early design stage. The lot across from San Pedro City Hall, where the Mexican restaurant is now in escrow with Trammell Crow. So when they get a little further along again, they'll come back and give us an update on what their plans are. That was entitled before, but I'm sure seems like every time someone buys property, they make changes.
Yeah, is that the green onion? one?
Yep, yeah, green onion.
Yep, so Holland's not doing that development now?
Holland is not doing it, they sold it.
Oh,
They're in
The
Esther
whole, the
still.
whole big area there?
Uh-huh.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the green onion just doesn't seem to want to stay.
He does, and he wants to
Then
retire.
retire.
Oh,
So have they set an estimated time for the shutdown?
No, no.
Alex said they're doing their due diligence and more to follow.
Super.
From Trammell, Alex.
Yeah, he said it would take
Mhm.
like several months at least.
Mhm.
Got the feeling it might be 6 months for
Yep,
escrow.
yeah.
It's a long process.
Do we know who the new developer is?
Trammell Crow, the same ones that
Oh,
are
Trammell Crow.
developing the one,
Fifth and Harbor.
yeah, thank you. The Harbor Community Clinic is buying the old bowling alley.
It's exciting.
Yeah, which has been Baxter High School more
Right.
recently, so it will become the Harbor Community Clinic. Topaz Parking, they are now open for public parking, $2 an hour, up to $14 a day.
Mhm.
They're using that same QR code system, which is
Mhm.
strange. They also have monthly parking. What's happening with the fountain?
It should be up and running in about a month. They have songs running now. It's somewhat working, but the fans, a lot of them need to be replaced. So wet designs in there, replacing them.
Oh.
I would say April. I always think we should add it. Late March or,
And thank you to the port for replacing the trees on North Gaffney.
Yes. Mhm.
Was the parklet dedicated last weekend in the rain?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
had to it,
We had
don't
our first water park in San Pedro.
you? Yeah. Couldn't believe it was a
Beautiful little park.
so, and for those who've been asking, the Boiler Express on Western is being turned into a Wendy's.
Wendy's.
Yeah, that was confirmed by Metropolitan Authorities. And it was a by right project.
They have their advertisements in the window already.
Diana, one thing on the fish market,
Yeah,
I got sent a little aerial showing you exactly where it's gonna be, and it's gonna be, where where the parking lot is. It's gonna be right there. And I heard that the fish market is actually going to be using about half the spaces in that parking lot
Oh,
for equipment and stuff.
oh.
Just what I heard. I don't know if anybody else knows anything
Building this?
different.
It's their temporary location.
Yeah, because I mean, they're gonna be, you know how they're, I don't know, whatever we call that, the round town square or whatever that's called. Okay, you know how the sidewalk is there and there's a fence? They're gonna be right on the other side of that fence.
But they have to build this restaurant, right?
They're gonna be,
No, they're not, it's temporary.
It's a pop.
it's a
But
temporary,
I had heard that they're gonna take about half the lot for
I see.
equipment and stuff. So that'll reduce,
Seating, in-house seating or in pop-up seating?
no, it's all pop-up stuff. Yeah, they'll have seating and stuff.
No,
They're just,
if you look at what they're doing now, it's very
Yeah.
similar,
so that's what I heard today.
but I haven't heard about the loss of parking spots.
No, that just, I talked to, actually, no, I'm sorry, I actually talked to somebody yesterday who mentioned that. That they understood that was gonna be, and I don't know how long they're gonna be there or what the deal is, but. So. Let's just say they talked to somebody from the fish market, so.
Where are they, what's the plan? I'm forgetting, what's the plan for the fish market?
They're going into West Harbor.
At some point,
There will be a new building built for them.
but.
So, Elisa,
I
Doug?
can, I can,
Yeah, Drew,
I can
Oh,
add.
I actually met with Jericho
Yeah,
today, if you want me to confirm any of this.
yes,
Yeah,
So I met with Jericho today, and yes, it is confirmed they will be using about half of the spaces. It will be reducing the spaces for about 2 years. And they're
okay.
that's gonna be their space until the restaurant is completed. And then they'll be moving back to their permanent location.
Okay, so what I heard
Were there
was
any other
correct,
questions?
apparently.
Yeah, were there any
Um,
other questions that I may be able to clarify on?
so I would assume that they're also part of the first phase. The fish market?
No, so if I can just jump in real quick. So the fish market, my understanding is moving to the parking lot. And that's because there's work that needs to be done exactly where they're at very soon by third parties. And so they need to get out of there quickly. So the parking lot's ready and it's already a finished surface. So it creates some ease in being able to move over there without a whole lot of hoopla, except for just changing their address. So that's happening. I believe the next step is that they will move into the location that is just east of that, which is part of the North Park area that's not slated for immediate development. And they'll be there for a longer period of time. I don't know how long they're going to be in the parking lot, so I'm not sure whether that's 2 years. That sounded like a long time to me. But they will be moving into, my understanding, to a second or a third pop-up after they come out of the parking lot into an area that's much bigger, I think, in between the water and where the parking lot is, and then eventually into their final resting place, which is in it would be phase 1C.
so
Phase
Mike,
1C. Go ahead.
just for me, for my tired brain, the fish market will be in the parking lot at 6th and Harbor as you're looking towards the Maritime Museum on the right in the finished parking lot that the public has been parking in.
That's correct.
That's right. Not the entire parking lot, but of course.
Just the back half of
About
it.
half, yeah,
Well, that basically takes out the parking lot.
yeah, well, about half of it.
Well, but you, okay, I'm just.
No, I'm just saying.
So I
whole
just skipped
thing,
a
but-
lot going on there is we have,
Yeah.
yeah. Maritime Museum employees in that parking lot, others, and yes.
Okay,
Okay.
should we let Mike,
Mike, I think we're gonna
Mike,
combine.
would you like to do your presentation?
I would like to, but I need 5 minutes. I just landed at home, and so
Okay.
I will. I'll be setting up my computer in the next few minutes, and then I'll be
Okay.
ready. Sorry for the delay, but better that than on the side of the road.
That would be great.
That's great.
Wait, we're waiting for Sergio to tell us about the PAIP process, but I don't know if anyone else can tell us about it.
I don't even know
I
what it
can,
is.
I can tell you about it while I'm walking in. So the was someone gonna say something?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. So the PAIP, as I think most people are aware of, is called the Public Access Investment Plan. That's the acronym for it. And the plan started in 2015. The port initiated the plan as a way to engage the community in prioritization of waterfront projects and also to create a sustainable, predictable, and transparent way for waterfront projects, public access projects to get delivered. So at that time, the intent was to use 10% of the operating income of the port, which then was about $200 million, and invested in projects that the port worked with the community, which included the neighborhood councils and the chambers of commerce from both Wilmington and San Pedro to prioritize. So they came up with a grouping of projects. All of those base projects that were prioritized are either complete now or during construction or design in both of the communities. And there was an intent to have equity between the communities too, so that each community got an equal share of that money. So coming forward, it was a 10-year plan. So we're coming up on the end of that. And last year, the port went to the board and approved a new plan under the leadership of the new council member in Council District 1-5. It made some tweaks. One of the tweaks is that 10% is now the floor. It's no less than 10%. So there's some opportunity there. Another tweak is that the council office, not the port, will be the one leading the outreach effort to prioritize projects. So I think that's what Sergio was going to come today.
Right.
And to out relatively close to being ready to start that process. And I know him and Amanda have been working on it and in coordination with us as well. So that's their plan, is to roll that out in the next few weeks, to start with neighborhood councils and the chambers as we have in the past, and to get input on projects. Now, we went through a pretty robust prioritization process back in 2018-19 before COVID hit. And all of these entities came up with projects. And so I think collectively, everybody is hoping that we utilize that good work and add to it where necessary to program out for the next 10 years. But we want to relook at that, especially in San Pedro in relationship to the connectivity plan coming forward. There are a lot of ideas in there that are much more fine-tuned than we had before in regards to transportation needs for all kinds of modes of transportation. So that's something that should be looked at to try to figure out collectively what is the most important thing to happen immediately so that we're successful in where we've made major investments, like in the West Harbor project. And there is an implementation strategy within the connectivity plan as well that shows some ideas about what can be done soon and what can be done in the midterm and what can be done in the long term. So that's what I believe Sergio was going to talk about, public access investment plan today.
What's kind of the timeline on the identification of projects for this next round?
I think they want to do it as quickly as possible. So in the next few months.
Can I weigh in real quick? I'm raising my hand.
I'm just a proxy. I'm a proxy for Sergio, so I will listen, but it depends on.
Well, yeah, no,
what your
I
question
just,
is.
and I understand that. And it's not about timeline or anything else. I'm just gonna say that at Coastal San Pedro, we, in our comments on the connectivity plan, I mean, we think we pretty much like the plan as it was presented. So what we commented on was really those things that are priorities for Coastal San Pedro. And so I think we'll be able to move very quickly in the sense that we've already identified a lot of specific priority projects. And so I don't know how much more work we're really going to need to have to do, or how that's necessarily going to mesh with everybody else. But I'm guessing it really the real interface here is with the council office and not the port, right?
That's right. They will lead the process.
Okay, so, well, we'll leave you alone.
Well, we'll be heavily involved in it as well. So,
No problem.
and in the end of the day, the board is the end all be all in regards to moving this forward into the budgeting process. So I think that's important so that everybody understands. We all need to work together, but the council office will be leading outreach.
One quick question. Do you have any idea of how much money we're potentially talking about over the course of the next, say, 5 years? Any guesstimate?
Well, for the last period, the last 10 years, it was, I think the number that we're estimating based on 2 years of projections, I think is $262 million.
Okay, all right, thanks.
All right.
And I know,
Mike,
Mike,
you
yeah, if you would like to,
I would like
Go ahead
to
with your
join this
presentation.
meeting, and I'm very much attempting to get in, but my computer is causing problems with me
Yes,
right
Elise.
now.
just email Sergio potential dates. I know that he's presenting to the chamber on Tuesday, February 13th at 8 a.m. So he is gonna be out doing outreach in the next 2 weeks. So I would email or text him potential dates for scheduling.
excellent. Yeah, it's, quite frankly, I don't know what the ones affecting our part of the neighborhood are, and would be good to revisit.
Here we are.
What? Is your phone?
Please.
Oh, is it on? No.
With all that money, we could have another water park.
Seriously.
Well, I think we anticipated 200 million, so there's an extra 62.
Okay, well,
Did it was.
it's actually, it's a helpful number to know because, yeah,
Mike, you just let us know when you're ready, because I see your hand up.
If we
I had a hand up, but I.
Wait a
second, Barbara.
promoted, so he's rejoining.
Increase, Doug.
What's that?
It's a 30% increase. It's better to lot more money.
Just let us know when you're ready,
I
Mike.
mean,
It's gonna be interesting to see how this
Okay,
process
almost there.
Sergio proceeds.
Are you gonna do it, or you want me to?
There he is. Oh, you need to do it. I think you might, I don't think I can do it.
Okay.
I tried.
Thank you, ladies.
No, thank you for doing that.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
I'm gonna do LA water. I think I stopped
You
that.
pushed the wrong button. Oh.
Yeah, I did. Sorry.
You're a co-host now, so you can share.
There you go.
Here we go. Everyone can see that, I assume.
Yes.
Yep.
Get out to the top. So I'm gonna do LA waterfront first. I'll buzz through this, and then we will, and there's PIP in this too. But I'll go as fast as I can. I talk really fast if I need to. Whoops. Got to change the cover slide. So everybody knows what the LA waterfront is, right? And this is the core of what the PIP is trying to invest in, is this 400 and I'd say 50 acres and 8 miles of waterfront between Wilmington and San Pedro. And there's a lot going on there. A lot of information here. Cruise passengers are up. We have a lot of good stats in regards to how many recreational vessel slips we have and public events and marina access. We've done a lot of studying over the years in the LA waterfront from the Urban Land Institute, both in San Pedro and Wilmington. I think the connectivity plan in San Pedro does a really good job of looking into the entirety of the studies that we've done. I think there's probably over 20 studies that have been done over the course of the last 2 decades in looking at planning out the waterfront. And in the Port of LA, we organizationally changed how we deal with waterfront development in 2015 by creating the Waterfront and Commercial Real Estate Division, which I'm in charge of, and infrastructure investment through the Public Access Investment Plan.
an event policy, waterfront commercial leasing guidelines, and the revised public access investment plan and the connectivity plan that came after that. So we learned a bunch of things in regards to the waterfront over the course of time with all of these studies. The focus is really on connecting downtown to the waterfront, connecting the waterfront amenities to each other, making sure it all works together. There's a lot of difficulties in developing the waterfront. I won't go into all this, but it's probably one of the most difficult places to develop in the state of California, just with all the regulatory overlap you have between State Lands Commission, Coastal Commission, city, port, and different land use mixes. So we have a history of unsuccessfully privately funded projects, but we're turning the corner on that. We're much better at what we're doing now. We understand, the port understands its position in the waterfront, and we have been at it marketing this new approach for almost 10 years. And we have good success through building infrastructure, activating the waterfront, and attracting visitors and private investment. It started with the PAIP, which I already went through, 10-year budgetary guideline, 10% of operating income, community input that we received, and it's resulted, total of that and past development has resulted in about $1 billion of investment since about 2004. It's really critical to make this all work that we have private investment. So we have to furnish our leasing policies around that, understand the development life cycles. We all saw what happened with Ports of Call. That was a failure of understanding and how the development needed to be reinvested in, and how the private and public agency could work with each other to make that happen. I think we've learned a lot of lessons from that, and as a result, need to proactively address market decline and not let leases get down too deep into their term, or else it's impossible to refinance going forward. So we understand the uniqueness of all of this and the lease provisions that we need to move forward, and that's how we got West Harbor done. It's a financeable lease. Obviously, they leveraged $150 million in private investment into that facility, and we've never seen that large of an investment anywhere in the port from a private entity. So that was a big success, and it was built on the back of all of these great results that came out of PEIP. These are all projects that have been completed or are in the process of being completed as we speak now. The phase 2 of West Harbor is actively being worked forward, and the Wilmington Waterfront Promenade, Wilmington's re-access to the waterfront, will open on February 3rd, which will be a really big moment for Wilmington, getting access back to the waterfront after a century, basically. So public access investment plan was very successful. Started out expecting $200 million in total investment, and the results are about $262 million now, actually. So we're about 30% up from where we originally projected in 2015. So the success of our overall business translates into success for the community. And what we get out of that is more projects, more public benefit programs, better alignment internally. So now the permanent fixture of the PEIP will line up with our 5-year budget cycle for planning capital projects, which is really important, because it is no longer a 10-year cycle. It is an ongoing program. The port will continue moving forward. And we have a new vision in San Pedro with the connectivity plan that, for those of you that have not read it, it's hard. It's 500 pages, but there are a lot of pictures. So I encourage you all to do that. There's a lot of good information in there. We have not seen this comprehensive of a deep dive into everything we've done and need to do ever. And we got really, really good value out of this. I think the total that we spent was about $540,000. And I don't know how they did it for that price. Quite honestly, they did money off of us because they gave us millions and millions of dollars of value through what they did. So I think hats off to SWA, and that those that chose them. I think some of those people are in this room and participated in the selection process. So I thank you all for making the right decision. We have this development plan now along the San Pedro waterfront that we've been working well before the connectivity plan, but it includes the West Harbor project, which is sort of central to everything we're doing. Altus's project, which is essential as well. These are both projects that have been under lease for a long period of time, and the port has been working on delivering them along with our private partners there, and are having good success on both of those. We have crafted the existing development there. That was one of the or really one of the first large-scale developments, the first large-scale development there in the port that wasn't just a standalone commercial asset like the hotel that we have, or 22nd Street Landing. And then we have new projects coming to market now that we've negotiated through RFPs with Cabrera Way Marina. That one is hopefully closing this year. We're pretty close to getting to agreement on base terms for the lease there. The boat repair facility, which NOP was out, I think it was last week for that. So that's the beginning of the EIR process there. Warehouse One, we hope to start that request for information process to get the solicitation for a new developer or a developer there this year in the next 6 months. And then the cruise terminal, and we're going to go into a little more detail on the cruise terminal in the next presentation. So the results of all of this is we get leverage development. Like I said, we have $165 million project that's being built here. $150 million of that is coming from outside financing, which does not happen without having a good partnership, the right leasing policies, understanding from both sides that the port is going to act correctly moving forward and in accordance with our new leasing guidelines. So all of these pieces were necessary, and we've been working on this for about 10 years to make sure that we're in a good place to deliver. These are the phases we talked about, phase 1A, 1B. 1A is under construction now, and that's what you see out there when you go to the site. 1B will be under construction the next couple months. 1B is adjacent to the majority of the phase 2 section of the promenade, which is where the San Pedro Fish Market used to be. And then phase 1C, I think, is going to be a standalone building, probably for the fish market at this point. And then you got North Park further to the north, which is a larger format recreation, all type of uses. I think there's a Pig and Pickle. Pig and Pickle, which is pickleball facility that has food and beverage associated with it. Park Social is a dog park that has food and beverage associated with it, and that's all adjacent to the large courtesy dock in Southern California. They're at 1,200 linear feet using both sides. That provides access for the water that nobody else has in Southern California. So we are ripe and ready to go and move this forward and look at what is going to be brought to our community as a new attraction that really will draw people to the waterfront from all around the region, something that you cannot find anywhere else but in the Port of Los Angeles, because we are the only waterfront in Southern California that is adjacent to the largest shipping port in the country and on the main channel of that shipping port. Nobody else has that. So these are just some views of the development. There's Park Social. On the Alta Sea. Alta Sea is wants to be the center, and we want it to be the center of the blue economy here in Southern California for the West Coast, and they're focused on doing that and adaptively reusing the first 180,000 square feet of warehouses there you see in the middle of the screen. They're well on their way through that project and building out what is this blue business hub. And the opportunity there will begin when they open the first phase, which I believe is berth 58. May 20th, I think, is the date that I've heard for the opening of that. So they're making good progress there. They're in about a $27 million total development or redevelopment of those warehouses. And Swinnerton Contractors is their construction contractor for that first large piece that they're working on right now. They're having very good success with tenants, and we'll have some big announcements coming up on tenants that are big institutions locally and within the region that will really provide more security for Alta Sea moving forward as they move their mission to become that blue economy center in Southern California and beyond. These are just different pieces of what it's going to look like there in between berth 58 and berth 57. So this is this open space between the warehouses. They'll also be looking at this year developing a plan for berth 70-71, and that is the main channel, former Westway site that is on the east side of the existing buildings that are being built right now. Some views of what that building 58 through 60 is going to look like from the outside once everything is done. And that project should be done, I believe, midway through this year. So latest, probably late summer, for that entire 180,000 square feet to be done. But there's a lot of activity at Alta Sea now, much going on, and we're really excited for the jobs that that's going to bring to the local community. Cabrera Way Marina, as I mentioned, under Lease negotiations right now, their plan is to build out multifaceted landside development. They will take over the port's Cabrillo Way Marina. They will purchase that from the port, subject to a land lease. They're planning on building out 2 hotels, one that will be north of 22nd Street, one that will be south of 22nd Street. There's the large hotel that will be south of 22nd Street. It's about 150 unit hotel. They're also building in the center there. You see to the rear a little bit, that's what we call a marina club. And so that's a food and beverage facility that is basically allowed for anybody that has a slip in that marina can utilize that, similar to what a yacht club would be, but not exclusive. So that will provide food and beverage, I believe, to the public as well there. Earth 44 boatyard that I mentioned is going through the environmental impact report right now. This site needs to be cleaned up too from the past legacy operator there at San Pedro Boat Works. So once we are done with the certification process, hopefully, of the EIR, we'll move on to remediating the site and the development to happen after that. That site can service 99% of the recreational boats registered in the state of California, along with commercial vessels. Then the Outer Harbor Cruise Terminal, I'm going to get to that in a second. Warehouse 1, 460,000 square feet of warehouse space. One of the most unique buildings architecturally in the LA region, and something that many developers have their eyes on as a jewel that can be developed further as the rest of the waterfront develops around that. But extremely expensive development as well, in a historic landmark building. So there's a lot of cost and different types of red tape you need to get through to make that all work. So we plan on working closely with state lands to make sure we can open up the use scenario to as many possible uses as would make sense to make this a viable real estate development. Mentioned in Wilmington, we have big things going on, 2 big parks. The initial park this will open is basically complete now. Will open in a couple of weeks on February 3rd. There'll be a big event there, the Lunar New Year event. That's at 1 o'clock on February 3rd, Saturday. And so that'll be both the opening of the park and that annual event for the port. The next phase of that is building the bridge across the railroad and across the relocated Water Street to connect up into the Avalon Promenade Gateway, which will eventually be the gateway from the bottom of the Avalon corridor at Harry Bridges into the waterfront area. So this is all expected to be delivered, I believe, by 2027. This is going out to bid this year for construction. So that is the end of the general waterfront. If we have time and everybody wishes, I will go into the cruise terminal RFP information, if that makes sense.
Yes, please. That'd be great. Thank you, Mike.
We'll look for him last.
When I know. Yeah.
Middle age is coming up.
I'm ready to do the block again.
Sorry, it's hiding from me right now. Which means I have way too many windows open. Here we go. Okay, so the cruise development, everyone can see that, I assume?
Yep.
Okay, cruise development opportunity. This is really core to allowing us to build our cruise business. I'm going to go through the objectives, cruise business history, business opportunity, headwinds, terminal volumes, development project overview, RFP, minimum project specs, and draft scoring. So objective, we want to maintain and build our market share. We have spent a long time building our market. COVID took a hit out of it, but we are back and recovered. We're operating at double what we did before COVID. We'll have a little bit of a hiccup this year just because we have some boats going into dry dock, but we will rebound next year and be at record levels again. So we're excited, but we have to be smart about moving forward. This is a business that has been very transient over the years. So we want to improve the financial performance of the cruise business for us as we offer this request for proposal out for development of the cruise business. And we want to optimize our land as well, get best use out of both the Inner Harbor Cruise Terminal and get even better use out of the outer harbor, which is a unique facility in the Port of LA, because nobody else on the West Coast really has a facility that can accommodate one, much less two berths that can take on these very large cruise ships, 4,000 to 5,000 plus passengers, and manage that in deep enough water in a location that's close to a huge population base. So we're really, really well positioned to catch this cruise business that is growing and wants to continue to grow on the West Coast, while there may be continual growth in downrun destinations in Mexico, including a mid-Baja destination that could really, really increase cruise activity. So what we're looking at here is the existing cruise terminal. Berth 93 has sort of been our bread and butter terminal for a long period of time, but that is basically being outgrown by most of the ships that call here today. We squeeze a large Princess ship in there today, but it's a squeeze. The captains would rather have that ship going somewhere else. Our only really large berth that is usable right now is berth 91, 92, and that can accommodate ships 4,000 plus passengers. Berth 46 and 50 are both not adequate right now for larger ships due to different issues. We're working on berth 50 to deal with some of those issues so that we can deliver that for use prior to the RFP being the whole process and lease development deal being complete, so we don't miss any opportunity in the meantime. But that's the run of our business. Our lines that service us, Princess Cruise has been home based here for decades and decades, and continues to be the main player here. Royal Caribbean has been here, has left, has come back. They are a big growth player in our business right now, and Norwegian has been here for a long period of time as well, and has come back more recently. Royal is the one that is currently offering year-round cruising, which is important to sustain the business throughout the summer, so we don't lose all that business going forward. This is just a snapshot at where we've been over time. As time goes by, you see those average passengers per ship going up on the right-hand side, but we had big passenger counts back in about 2005, and then it all dropped off. We had issues downstream in Mexico. We had other economic issues here in the United States, and so our volumes really dropped off in 2012, 2013, and then started building again. And cruise lines learned in the 2018 to 19 range that if they put better ships here, they would increase their yields, and that's what the cruise lines care about, is their yield per passenger. Upstream from us, Alaska is the highest yield per passenger, I think, in the world. And downstream historically in the West Coast of Mexico has been one of the lowest. So we're improving on that because better ships came into the marketplace, and the cruise customers have reacted well to that. And they're getting on ships in droves. So that this is all good. Then COVID hit, and we're on the rebound from that. We had a great year. The projections for 2023 total over 1.3 million passengers. So that's eclipsing the best we did in the past. So we're in a good place. We want to continue to move forward. The issue with the cruise business is that they want weekend berths, basically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because that's when the typical American vacation happens from weekend to weekend. And so they have to maximize that need of their customers, and we have to maximize the berthing opportunities. With only one big berth, we need to complement that with additional big berths in the outer harbor. So the growth comes from weekend berths, and we need 2 to 3 berths really to be able to meet the demand that we see coming up in the next 10 years and the ability to process 6,000 plus passengers. There's a lot of issues. COVID uncertainty is sort of behind us now in the cruise business. I don't think that's really a big issue, but as a result of having been shut down for the better part of 2+ years, there's a huge debt load issue that the cruise lines have because they had to put a lot of money, borrow a lot of money just to keep above water. So they have limited capital to deploy, but there's a lot of private entities, not a lot, but there's a handful of private entities out there that do have equity to deploy in this space, especially because it's growing. Lending costs are a lot. So those that want to go borrow money, it's a costly endeavor. West Coast Mexico market has shown some improvement, but it's not the Caribbean. So we need to continue to improve it, and looking at another stop mid-Baja, which has been looked at by different cruise lines and developers, would make a big change in our marketplace. So that's the new port itineraries that could help out. Fuel costs are always an issue. Development timeline is always a concern. What does cost look like? Sustaining market volume, regulations, competition, all the normal issues that occur. So what we're trying to do is really do better than the base case, the no development case. And if we open the outer harbor in 2028, we'll have an opportunity to grow our business and not stagnate. If we don't open something, the business will stagnate and we'll cap out at about 1.5 million passengers. So we want to continue that growth, and that's why it's important to develop the outer harbor, the very unique facility we have. The development model is focused on a long-term ground lease. We're going to send out the request for proposal. We sent out a draft in 2023 that allowed for a lot of input. We received a lot of input, so we fine-tuned that over the course of last year. And we will hopefully be releasing, I don't think it's going to be January, but it's going to be first quarter of this year. We're in the final process of fine-tuning the final draft. The development of operations and development of the facility itself will be what we're looking to get done at both inner and outer harbor. We need one developer to do that, one developer to manage it all, because to manage it efficiently, that needs to be a one entity to do that. The operations of the inner harbor will be looking at maximizing efficiency of existing terminal space, but we will look at development there as well. It just won't be a high scoring activity for the inner harbor. Densified parking opportunities at both inner and outer harbor, long-term plan for higher utilization in the inner harbor, as I mentioned. Developer responsibilities are to do everything to a maximum extent possible. They may have other ideas and ask support to participate, but that is what we are hoping for. And POLA will be building out AMP at berth 50, and that should be done by 2027. And we're upgrading berth 50 as well, so it can handle larger ships. And then we are working on a 2,350 space surface parking development at 22nd Street. Technical specifications, this is what we're focused on. We want to get a minimum of 4 berths, 2 in the inner, 2 in the outer, really 3 big berths. We'll be focused on phase 1 and phase 2, berth 50 development of the land side after we've built out some of the water side, maybe expansion of the water side. Phase 2, berth 46, full land and water side development, expanding that berth to be able to handle much larger vessels, and optional future development, as I mentioned, the inner harbor, land and water side, and densified parking at the inner and outer harbor. Performance specifications, we're focused on what the entity that is going to be proposing can deliver in regards to business. So passengers, they can guarantee the financial guarantee, their pro forma, and how they plan on making this development work financially over time, and the development cost assumptions. Those will all be important. These are all scoring methodologies for how we're going to look at the proposals that come in, qualifications and experience, development approach, operating approach, minimum passenger guarantee or minimum base ground rent, and the financial proposal, including projected passengers and the validity of those projections. So that's all I have on cruise. I hope I didn't go too fast or too slow.
Thank you, Mike.
Happy to answer any
No,
questions.
thank you.
That was great.
Next question.
Yeah, I think so. Pat.
Mike, the cruise lines advertise this place as an escape to Shangri-La or to some other place that you can go for a vacation and a nice experience. San Pedro is definitely not their destination.
No.
And there's not very much, there's nothing much in this proposal that looks like tying the cruise lines to San Pedro or a San Pedro experience, whether it's West Harbor or anything else. You know, you mentioned some things about the 80,000 square foot development sites down in the outer harbor. But what kind of material are you going to have in the proposal and in your scoring to so that these cruise lines can demonstrate what they're going to do to help San Pedro welcome them as well?
To help San Pedro welcome them. So we're open to suggestions if you have any. I think our focus is to get a developer on board that can operate professionally, that can maximize passengers coming through, that has control of passengers, ideally, that has access to capital to reinvest in our property, which will create economic opportunities along the waterfront. And the rest of it, we're putting together. We're building out the promenades. We're helping to build out West Harbor. We're trying to amenitize the waterfront. So when those cruise passengers come here, they might have a hotel that's open for them to stay in. They'll have a lot more to do than they have historically, meaning that they'll have different types of amenities to visit, such as West Harbor and other developments, Alta Sea, et cetera, to come in and develop, or to come in and visit. So we're hoping to create all of that activity around them. We're not really asking them to do that. We're not looking for them to do commercial development on their site, if that's what you're alluding to. We're not looking for them to do hospitality on their site either. But maybe you can explain that a little bit more. I'm not sure exactly what you were asking.
Well, there was a Christmas time event down at Crafted, and some of the cruise operators were there. We had the opportunity to chat with them, and they all were looking forward to working with the community in ways to tie the cruise business to the community. Everything I heard from you really was that their attitude was maximize what they can get out of each cruise passenger. You know, in the past, the cruise lines would just as soon confiscate the wallets of everybody that came on board a ship and make sure that every dollar that was spent on the cruise ship. And when they got off the ship, they got onto an Uber or a plane and got out of town as quickly as they could. So what?
Mike, can I help address this?
Sure.
So as I mentioned in our last land use meeting, Princess Cruises has joined the chamber as a corporate and community partner. Royal Caribbean has joined the chamber as a corporate and community partner. And we have a third cruise line that's joining in February or March. So they're very interested because I think, I don't know, Mike, interject here. They want us to be a world-class destination. It helps them, it helps their business. So we met with Royal Caribbean, is working on a community outreach plan for San Pedro on how we can better integrate with their program. But we have a lot of work to do as a business community. Many of our businesses are closed when the cruise ship passengers are here. PBIT is interviewing cruise ship passengers now on what they're looking for when they come into the Port of Los Angeles. So I look at this as a two-way conversation. And I think the cruise ship industry is really looking to partner with us. Where, as Mike mentioned, we want to add that third day. Come in early before your cruise or stay a day later. This is what we have to offer. We're working on some landside tours for cruise ship company approval that can be put into their, like, Princess Patter or whatever their communication is with their passengers. There's been a lot, I would say, Mike, in the last 24 months, we've had some pretty engaged conversations with the industry on how we're going to move forward together as a community, because they're going to lift the economic sustainability of San Pedro. And so, Pat, we've got to get ready too as a community. Our hotels are not in good shape. We need to work with our hotels and help them get ready. There's a lot of work to do, but I think we're all poised to do that work. I don't know, Mike, do you want to?
I wanted to add that, you know, the importance of this, because we're talking about the RFP. So I would make the analogy to when the state of California negotiated with AEG for, you know, a quarter of my campus at Tengus Hills. And we didn't make that ask. It wasn't part of the RFP, right? That they even mentioned our name, right? So I really think giving a point or two, if there's like 50 points for those, because that's an operator. And so we, you know, sure, to me, the cruise terminals are like the Galaxy, we're like the old Chivas, you know, like the other folks there. We can partner with them, but they come and go, like we lost one soccer team. You know, cruise can come and go, but the person operating, just in the mindset, I hope, Mike, you and the board have, and, you know, want to talk to commissioners, is that's not a hard ask that they start thinking about it, because it is ironic, right? Los Angeles has this great recognition when you're going around the world trying to market anything here. But I agree with Pat that the community isn't feeling that benefit. Instead, you know, they're worried about parking rates going up, or, you know, the cruise ships are just using us to park, right? And we need that.
I disagree completely, but I've been engaged in this conversation for 2 years. We see the cruise ship passengers in downtown. We see them in the community. The PBID's connecting them. I hear what you're saying about points in the RFP. I think the industry's expecting it, Mike, to see, I don't know, you can, on the community engagement, cruise ship passengers are coming to the farmer's market. I mean,
I'm not doing the economics. I'm just saying I can point you to 8 people who come to the meetings that complain about parking and.
right.
So I'm trying to help us, or this one little thing is one thing that I can say, because I agree the businesses could do more, we need to do more, but I think this would be low hanging fruit to just show how we're trying, you know, for those who are upset about bike pass and complain to me about.
Okay, I misunderstood. I'm sorry. I just.
There is some
Everything you said.
reference to that under qualifications and experience that they have to understand the area that they'll be working in. We can make sure to buff that out a little bit so it's clear that that community engagement is critical for us with whatever partner we're getting into this with. That's harder to measure in regards to name recognition. You know, we use the name Los Angeles, the Port of Los Angeles in most of our developments, crafted at the Port of Los Angeles, all to see at the Port of Los Angeles. So we do that as much as we can. And we normally do that through the negotiation process to make sure we get those things in. People can say a lot of things that they want to do in this portion of the proposal, but we want to make sure that we have a solid financial partner here that can deliver. And I think it is very important to have those relationships with the community. How you judge that in a proposal, it's a little squishy, but I think we know which entities are engaging and ones are not. We've seen that more and more in the last 2 years. So we can definitely look at that, Pat, and
you're right, it is
how we can polish that up a little bit so it's clearer.
I do think, I agree with everything that Elise said, but the whole time she was talking to me, I can't do anything for these people. He can.
So here, no, we can as a community.
We can, but Mike can too. Yeah, I have yet to, I talk to these people when we see them out on Sunday mornings, walking around looking for something that's open.
Right.
Right? Not anyone.
To do.
There is no program.
And that's not all the responsibility either, Pat. So we're working as a group here with the community, as we have been for the last 10 years, trying to develop the waterfront to create something for people to do. So they're not wandering around looking for something.
Right, exactly, yes.
What to do. That's why we developed the connectivity plan, so it points people in a direction of where to go. And that's why we need to focus on those low-hanging fruit through the public access investment plan to be able to develop the waterfront out further so that it's not a bunch of stranded amenities that are not connected well to each other and that cruise passengers have no understanding of. But we have to be able to sell that to the lines. We cannot tell them engage with something that doesn't exist, right? And so we have to collectively put that package together so that they know what they're trying to sell to their customers. But it's definitely a group effort, and it's not something that Mike Galvin and the Port of LA can do by
it's a group effort.
We need a lot of help in doing that, and we've been working on it for a long time.
But I think you can set the expectation in the RFP process of the community engagement.
Right. I agree. I do agree. I just think after, and I think the cruise ship industry would be interested in talking to all of you. After the meeting with Royal Caribbean, they understand that they must engage based on their worldwide experience at other ports, their experience in Alaska, that they need to build this strong relationship with the community. So however Mike can put that in the RFP, I completely agree. But at the same time, Pat, we're trying to convince our business owners to open up, unlock the door. There is an opportunity. So that's the work that would PBID in the chamber. Let's talk afterwards. I agree.
I think there's plenty they can.
A couple of questions.
Philip.
Will the outer terminal, berth 50 and 46 be electric powered for the cruise ships? Will they be idling diesel, and will there be flexible membrane structures on the outer berth, or will be hard building?
The development of the outer berth is subject to the proposal process. The port wants to see permanent structures built out there, not flexible membrane structures. We may get a proposal for that, just depending on how things need to phase in, but that's not our intent. We want to see a permanent facility built out there. There, like I said, the port is building alternative marine power, cold ironing at berth 50. That will be in place before lease is in place for this development. And that's where ships will call initially, because it will be ready for larger ships and they will be plugging in there. There may be a ship or two that plugs in there in the interim, because when we have 3 ships in, we have nowhere to put a 3rd ship. And often those are ships that are not frequent callers here. So for California state law, they can call there. We don't want anyone to call here without plugging in, but in certain scenarios, it's allowed. But the intent is that all of our frequent callers will be plugging in the outer harbor. That's going to be a requirement. It already is a requirement, state law, and the port lease will require that as well. But we'll have cold ironing out there in the next, 2027, next 3 years. The next piece of cold ironing that goes into berth 46 requires a longer pull of electricity. We're sort of out of electricity and on this side of the waterfront, and that'll require a longer pull, which we're already in the process of developing with the LADWP. It's just going to take a few more years to get it out there, but the plan is for both berths to have fully accommodating cold ironing.
Jason, you had a question.
Yeah. So earlier today, we saw a presentation on the 47, 110 freeway on ramps, how that's going to be expanded and ease input and output from that point. And then now we're seeing this cruise terminal with a lot of people on the other end of it. And I've read all those 500 pages of the connectivity plan. I don't see anything that helps connect that throughput or improve that throughput that makes it more than it is today. Throw into that mix the concert venue, and you've got the existing cruise terminals. And I just see a real logjam of ability to move people along the waterfront. And I just haven't seen that in the connectivity plan. I'm sure the rest of it.
So I wasn't there for the presentation earlier, but my understanding generally is that the logjam that you see is a cross traffic issue between industrial activity, cargo activity, and cruise line activity that's happening at the same time on Sunday or Monday morning, and that is pushing vehicles back up onto the bridge. And that's because things aren't split up right now. When in the new project, the SR 47 off-ramp project, those flows will be split up. The industrial cargo traffic will be going north of the bridge, and the commercial traffic will be coming south, and therefore you won't have that cross stream that blocks it right now. So that will be addressed in some way. The port has already done things to address Harbor Boulevard with the 7th Street intersection project that took out the left-hand turn into Portugal. So there are projects that have been completed, and that project at the bridge will have some effect on what we see as a backup right now.
That addresses my point.
What is your plan? I guess maybe I didn't understand the point. Are you asking for us to build a larger off-ramp there?
No, not the off-ramp. The off-ramp plan is to ease on and off of harbor, okay? And reduce at that single point, which is fine, which is a fair thing to do. But the entire length of harbor where traffic will have to flow between the 6,000 people at the end of that new cruise terminal and the amphitheater and other existing attractions there. Harbor Boulevard is still Harbor Boulevard, even in the connectivity plan. There's no additional lanes. There's no dedicated right-of-way method to move people along that stretch of thoroughfare. So I just haven't seen a plan for that when all this traffic is going to come in with all these other attractions. And by the way, we welcome these things, but to have that in all of harbor just bumper to bumper between the 2 points, I haven't seen any real understanding of that potential problem.
Yeah, it's a question we'd have to get deeper into. We don't know that we have a severe issue on Harbor Boulevard now, or with those other improvements built on. There's 6,000 people. Maybe you're coming in 3,000 cars to the amphitheater. We've been handling that and many more over the course of time at ports of call. So these are issues that have existed for a long period of time, some of which have been corrected with the 7th Street intersection. We have not seen the backups on Harbor Boulevard that we saw historically after that project got built. Building out more street to deal with that wasn't hasn't been seen as an issue because of the performance of the street at this point, even with the projections going forward of West Harbor plus the amphitheater. So, but that'll all come out in the amphitheater draft EIR as well. All those issues must be addressed as far as traffic is concerned. And so if there is a need for additional throughput there, that will come out in that. I don't believe that is the case because I think with the way that we have handled the existing traffic over time with the improvement of 7th Street and the improvement coming off the bridge as well, that will ease some of the issues we've had historically. So I don't think that there's an issue in having to widen Harbor Boulevard more, but we'll see more about that in the San Pedro or the waterfront amphitheater EIR.
Will there be an EIR or at least a traffic study for the outer cruise terminal?
Oh, there will be an EIR for the cruise terminal development for sure. We have addressed cruise terminal development in the EIR that was done for the San Pedro waterfront, but it's dated. It looked at much smaller vessels. The passenger numbers are probably within throwing distance, but the type of ships, size of ships are different. And so, and the type of development is going to be different too. So I can almost guarantee you that that's going to trigger a new EIR for that development. So that will have to be looked at as well as we determine how to move forward with that.
Javier? Yeah, okay, in my experience, having memories of holiday weekends at Ports of Call and whatnot, I don't think the potential problem in terms of Harbor Boulevard is capacity so much as directing traffic. I can think of, it might have been Navy days, for instance, in which we had a large volume of cars arrive at the same time, and I happened to be down in that area around 6. And what I witnessed was a lot of folks who weren't quite sure where to go.
Oh, yeah.
So as they were crossing, so you had some going off to the right, you know, up into the neighborhood, some going straight. And I think that will solve a lot of the problem when we have large numbers of traffic, is we have very clear directions to folks coming in their cars, Ubers, Lyfts, buses, whatever it is, to know where to go, where their destination is and where they can park. That I think is really the most critical thing. And that's why I think that's the part of the connectivity plan we need to concentrate on quickly.
If I could follow up on Jason's comment, I think the concern, you know, the connectivity plan will solve some of the directional problems, but I think the question is, you know, once you make it here and you have to go to another location along the port, you have to get back on your car. So there's no transportation mode right now that can get you from one end to the other without having to get back on your car and then creating more traffic internally. So I think, you know, we could envision having a transportation mode that could get people around from the new created cruise port area into downtown in West Harbor or other areas would be ideal.
The connectivity plan does talk about that specifically. That's really one of the core intents of it, is to make sure people can come to the waterfront, park once, and be able to move about, whether they're walking, biking, taking a rubber tire trolley, or some other public transportation mode. So that is something that is addressed pretty significantly in the connectivity plan, and something that will be focused on in the next 5 years.
For like example, the rubber tire trolleys mentioned, but not a dedicated right of way for it, right? So it's still going to just be traffic.
Yeah. If there is traffic, right? That's all speculation. I mean, I think we'll know more when the EIRs come out as to whether there will be or not. Like I said, there have been road improvements made. We are continuing to make other road improvements as we look at the road infrastructure around the waterfront. So we'll have to see as we go whether that's necessary.
One.
Coach, what Jason was saying and what you were saying in a slightly different way. I think you kind of alluded to the 2009 EIR, Mike.
Yep.
And it did have traffic. It did have traffic numbers extending out like 30 years, I think. And it did contemplate a cruise terminal out at Kaiser Point. Also, you mentioned that the ships are bigger, so maybe more traffic, maybe have to look at it. Two things. One is, I think a lot of us have lost track of the 2009 EIR. Is it possible that you could get to us the traffic studies that were done for that, so we know what the envelope looked like?
It's on the
Number
website.
one.
It's on the port's website. All of our EIRs are there.
Okay. And then what's this do to your timeline if you're going to have to do do an EIR? What's your contemplated timeline for building out the cruise terminals in the outer harbor? And is it going to be delayed by doing?
Subject to the proposal process, right? We're not prescribing what exactly will be built. We're waiting for a developer to tell us what they can build, how long they think it's going to take them. But I can tell you based on experience that if you're really, really good at development from the beginning, when you start, you'll be complete within 5 years. But that has not been the history so far. This is by far the most difficult place to develop probably in the state of California. So it takes a lot, and the EIR is one piece of it. That's an 18 to 24 month piece of it, but there's a lot of other pieces that are more concerning than that moving forward. So it's at least 5 years, I would say, from the time that we select a proposer before we're able to get the first portion of their development completed. That's if we go fast and everything goes as planned, which it never does. Yes.
All right, Jason.
A question about the Warehouse One project that's going to go out for RFP when?
The RFI will go out sometime this year. So hopefully in the first 6 months of this year. And so in that, we're doing a 3-step approach, a request for information first, which will take information from the community and from the development community to understand what people would like to see there, and also what is financially viable to be there, what is necessary to build there to be able to make the development work financially. And so we will then take that information and work with the state of California, with State Lands Commission, to see how we can soften up some uses that are not by right uses under the public trust, to be able to allow for developers not to have to speculate so much on potential uses going forward, because the alternative is to just release an RFQ and let developers guess at what the state will allow there or not. So we're trying to be a little bit more specific and work with the state up front so that we can figure out a wider array of uses that can create a better economic situation for the developer there.
Would it be possible to get a tour of the building?
Anytime.
When do you expect the RFP, not the RFP, the EIR for the amphitheater to come out?
We're hoping in the next couple months, but there's a lot of details there that are being addressed.
Someday.
Has there been an administrative draft prepared? Has there been an administrative draft prepared?
No, the draft has not come out yet.
I think they're waiting for you to move to someplace else, James.
What's the impact? What's the impact of the decision that the Iowa's not going to move? What's that going to do to what's that going to do in terms of thinking about the waterfront?
Have a cruise terminal.
About the in relationship to cruise?
No, just in general about the waterfront. What's the impact?
Well, it's not going to move. So we're going to have more money available theoretically for public access investment plan, because that project, which was prioritized by many, is not one of the projects we're concerned with delivering anymore. So that's one thing. It opens up some flexibility within the SP slip to look at other opportunities. I'm not sure what those other land or waterside opportunities may be, but it does open up that flexibility to look at that. It does take away some flexibility at the cruise terminal to be able to develop a second large berth at the Inner Harbor Cruise Terminal, but that was probably going to be the last berth and most expensive berth to develop. So whether or not the market ever really needs that is pure speculation right now. So that's not an immediate concern, but it is a longer term concern. How that facility circulates, though, is something that we'll be looking deep into now, because how things were cut up there because of the Iowa and the race, what we call the racetrack that goes around the parking lot and all that, that is not ideal. And that also creates some parking issues. I mean, some traffic issues. And so we are already had a meeting today on it, actually, looking at ways that we can make that more efficient to work for the Iowa long-term, to work for the cruise long-term, and make sure that we're making the most out of our opportunity there. When things were redesigned there over a decade ago, I don't think anyone's really convinced that that was the best thing to do. So I think we need to relook at that. We know the Iowa's going to be there now long-term. We know what we want out of cruise there long-term. And so I think we can do a better job and spend some time in creating a more efficient flow there.
Maybe the fish could move next to Iowa.
Like a general question, and I don't know much about it, but as we expand some of the current uses, like the cruise industry and entertainment uses along the harbor, do you see the fishing component still being part of the harbor, or is that something that will be phased out?
The port will not be phasing it out. What the business does based on the regulatory scheme that exists offshore is something that we can't control, but we're here and open for fishing. I think we're going to be doing some cleaning up of the fishing slip because it's not a aesthetically ideal situation, considering we're collectively investing over $250 million next door to it in West Harbor. We need that fishing slip to look a little bit nicer than it looks today. And there are much busier fishing harbors, like in Ventura, that do not look like that. So it doesn't need to look like that. And we are working now to clean up the situation there. So, but that does not mean we're not supportive of commercial fishing. We're very supportive in keeping the municipal fish market open and thriving with tenants that are operating and working with wet fish, and focused on cleaning up the situation, the SP slip, so it works for those that are actively fishing. And we have fishing assets on Terminal Island as well at the same time. So we are very supportive of the commercial fishing business, and we think it's one of those neat, unique things to see when you come to the port, and one of the draws that we have on top of the massive ships that come floating down the main channel. So we have no intent to phase that out. We think it should all work in concert with each other.
Great. Thank you. One more question.
When you say clean up SP slip, are you including the creosote wood pylons replacement, anything like that?
I wasn't speaking to what's under the wharf. I was more speaking to what's on top of the wharf.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Good.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks,
That's
Mike.
great. That was
Thank you.
good information.
Thank you guys for being patient with my schedule too. Appreciate it.
No problem.
No
Thank you.
problem.
We appreciate it. Very good.
Public comments.
Public comments on items on the agenda. Anybody? Yes.
My name is Carlos Garcia, one of the retired GAO analysts with the Government Accountability Office. Worked with them for 26 years on major acquisitions, and I was involved earlier on in the initial negotiations with the port over the PII plan. And I've been thinking now that West Harbor is on its way and being developed about the outer harbor, what can be done there. And I looked at proposals that we had developed in 2019 by the neighborhood councils. One example is to develop 22nd Street Park into a sports complex. It would be available for people living in that part of town. And that was one of the quote worthy ideas that was presented there. And if the cruise terminal goes in the outer harbor, there are other development sites along Marion Way that had yet to be developed. And I think there are plans to develop there. And because it's so close to the marina, it's a different environment than West Harbor. So I think it can attract similar businesses that you see in other beach communities like Long Beach and Seal Beach. The one issue that's come up is the fact that the Iowa will not get the San Pedro slip. And there are, as Mike said, opportunities to use that $14 to $20 million on other projects. But I read in a little thought piece that I think will be helpful for the neighborhood council in their discussions. You have that. I have one. You have one. And only the one tell us. You can just glance at it. Yeah. And the one sticking point is whether or not the Iowa can be associated with the lane victory.
I have the better light.
I think the dredge depth is adequate there, and they're both World War II vessels, so I think it's an appropriate place for them. But it's one idea that would solve the port's problem of developing inner harbor port. And there was one other addition at the very end. It was in the West Harbor development to develop a memorial, a Vietnam memorial for the local boys in San Pedro in the South Bay that have passed away. I think that's a better memorial than, and this is my personal opinion, than having the Iowa at the San Pedro slip. So that's a fresh idea. And it's presented in the context of the other possibilities there, even though it's kind of a point papers that emphasizing certain things, but it's something to help neighborhoods think about these issues in the long-term architecture of the bridge to breakwater. Okay.
Thank you, Carlos.
Here, yes. I have one item. Mike Galvin alluded to the PAIP coming up in the next couple of months. And he said something about the neighborhood councils getting busy, planning on that. Hopefully, we could do maybe what we did last time when all of them participated together and came up with the.
Yeah, that worked well.
Yeah, Mike noted both the connectivity plan and the PAIP program. Both of those things came because the community demanded something. And, so
we came together, coalesced around the future.
So hopefully this can happen on the next iteration of the PAIP as well.
Yeah, I think that would be a great combined effort. That way we're all aware of what Northwest, Coastal,
right. That's right.
Central is thinking of and kind of combine the thoughts.
Maybe we have an ad hoc planning committee, just one out of each neighborhood council or something like that, coming together with a plan. This is proposal. This is not something for discussion because it's not on the agenda, but
to think about.
Yep. Great.
Maybe you could put it on the agenda for next month.
Could be.
Does anybody know if Southwest Marine is still federal land, so nothing will ever be developed there? Is correct, or who knows what? That's never part of any of the.
it's trust lands. It's state of California trust lands and granted to the city of Los Angeles in trust. Islands.
Yeah, it seems like a big mothball. I mean, it's a nice old skeleton, but as far as any development.
Yeah, in terms of federal lands, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, it's just north of the prison.
I know where, yeah, but it may be subject to some lease or some other reservations that the federal government has asserted on the land.
I don't think so. No, it's not. The Southwest Marine side is not subject to any federal issues. Maybe a federal oversight in regards to a federal agency oversight in regards to cleaning it up, but nothing else than that.
What do you got planned for it?
I think there's a plan to send it out to RFP soon. I just don't know what the timing on it is.
Huge area.
RFP for what?
Yeah, for what?
Request for proposals for use.
Or best use.
That's right. We got to find out what they propose to find out what
Is
it's.
that gonna be in your office, Mike, or somebody else?
No, it'll be on the cargo side, not on my side.
Very good.
Okay.
So I believe that concludes our agenda and the end of our meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Tom and
Good night,
Pat,
good
I
night.
apologize. It's just I've been in